Welcome back to Friar Talk, everyone. It's been quite some time since we've been on. Took about a week off for Christmas, all with our families. Had some stuff going on, so it just never really found any time to record. But we're back today. Going to be talking about a lot of stuff, which is actually really exciting. Just because I feel like the last couple streams there wasn't a ton going on. It was more like where are the rumors here, where are the rumors there, and outside of Xander Bogaerts, there wasn't a whole lot going on in free agency. However, since we have recorded last, there's been a lot of stuff happening. Two signings for the Padres, Seth Lugo, Matt Carpenter. I think we're going to have, at least for me, I think the Matt Carpenter situation is really interesting just with how they decided to go with him instead of a Brandon Drury or say like a right-handed power bat that maybe has been better in, past seasons, in more recent seasons. And then also Wil Myers is gone. And I see Devin commented right at the top, said, let's start off with the Wil Myers tribute. We don't have Chase today, so this is really messed up for him. But, I mean, obviously, it kind of felt like the writing was in the wall for Wil Myers to be leaving. It didn't really seem like he was going to be coming back. We thought about him potentially coming back in some sort of depth platoon role, but he ends up signing with Cincinnati. One, we already talked about it in our chat, but this is a great thing for actually Wil Myers. Yeah. Now, it does suck because he's going from a contender in San Diego to a non-contender in Ohio, but in terms of his production, he might ball out because we've talked about it before. We haven't really liked a lot of guys coming from Cincinnati just because, we kind of like Jesse Winker, but we were a little bit hesitant with him. And like you see a lot of guys that come from there, Castellanos, production falls off the table once they leave because of that baseball stadium. So Wil Myers is in a spot where he can really produce offensively. So shout out to him. I mean, longest tenure Padre for almost like a while for our lives. I mean, we've seen him on the team since we were like 12? 11, maybe like 14.
Like 14.
Yeah. So shout out to Wil Myers because I did want to bring him up. And then, I see people talking about Sean Manaea. I don't know if I want to talk about Sean Manaea, to be honest. I'm good with that. But I don't know. Do you guys want, or Isaac, you want to get into who, Seth Lugo or Matt Carpenter first? Who do you think is the more kind of interesting signing that we want to address?
I gotta go with Matt Carpenter because that was just like out of left field. Seth Lugo, I think we all kind of knew, all right, the Padres are going to be in on this guy, whether it be for a starter or a long reliever role, the same way Nick Martinez was last year. But Matt Carpenter, I was kind of stunned in a way that I don't really know if I like it or not. I mean, he had a good year last year in New York. I mean, granted, right field is very tiny in New York. Not only that, he might have benefited from being given the, I guess you could say, juice balls that were given for Aaron Judge's journey to 62. He might have benefited from those baseballs. So I don't really know how to feel about Matt Carpenter, but luckily the corner of right field isn't very big in Petco either. So hopefully he's able to hit a few bombs there. I think he was expected to hit 15 over there also. Maybe the shift ban will also help him, but that was definitely one that I feel he shouldn't be our permanent DH. There's got to be someone on the free agent market that they feel better about putting in there at DH, right? Just because this was kind of like the first pop-off we saw out of Matt Carpenter in a little while, and he doesn't really hit. I mean, obviously he was hitting last year, and yeah, I know he reworked his swing, but really, how much of it were those juice baseballs? Because they got way more than any other team. How much of it was Yankee Stadium? There's a lot of things that factor into why I might like Matt Carpenter for those home runs, for his reworked swing, for his commitment to going with the times, trying to get more launch angle, just trying to change the swing in general. But there's also a little bit of hesitancy knowing, was that just like a solid 1 or 2 month stint? Because a lot of that production came in a very short amount of time. A lot of it, like a ton. And then after that, it was very, very, very bleak. So Matt Carpenter was definitely somewhat of a surprise in the sense that he's kind of a controversial signing because he's old. But everyone's going to look at his stats in those 1 or 2 months and be excited. For rightfully so. I mean, we don't know that. Most people don't know that came in those 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, and you guys saw, if you saw where I popped up my screen right there, if you look at his recent seasons, he was terrible before last season. And he hit under 200 in both, 2021 and 2020. Granted, 2020 is a small season, but then in 2019, he barely hit over he hit 226 with a 726 OPS. So he hasn't really put up a full good season since 2018. Now, you bring up 2018, kind of what is it, 2013 through 2018, those 6 seasons. He was a beast. He was an absolute beast on the Cardinals. He was really good. And then he has this 3-4 years where he's not that good. Last year, he doesn't even play in 50 games, has a little over 150 plate appearances, doesn't really play that much. But we saw how hot he was in the in that, what is it? Was it like that May kind of stretch, May, June kind of
It
stretch
was like June,
where,
July, yeah.
yeah, like a lot of Yankees fans were super pumped, like they're just looking at like, dude, this guy is going off. Who would have expected Matt Carpenter to be one of the Yankees like best offensive players? And he balled out. But then he gets hurt. He broke his foot, comes back, and in the playoffs he was absolutely atrocious. I don't know how much
Yeah.
of the Yankees you're watching, but I was watching with one of my buddies who is a Yankees fan. We watched a couple games, and dude, he was
It was
bad, bro. He
bad.
looked
Yeah, it was bad.
completely lost at the plate. And you can chalk that up to, having your timing off, missing a lot of time. And you see that with a lot of guys when they end up being out for a while. But it is a little bit concerning when you look at it. And I get the reasoning. The reasoning is he's a lefty. They wanted to go get a lefty. That's pretty clear. But at the same time, it's like Brandon Drury, like people really wanted Brandon Drury back. You pass up on Josh Bell. You pass up on, a guy like Luke Voigt, who was better than Brandon Drury was, or pretty much the same. And he was like slumping like 3/4 of the time he was in San Diego. And he still put up like roughly the same numbers as Brandon Drury did in San Diego. And these guys are all righties, but they go with Matt Carpenter, who has been very down in recent years outside of a small hot stretch this past season. And it's kind of a boom bust move. And the only reason why I was kind of like, oh, like, is this going to hurt the Padres? Is because they signed Matt Carpenter and then Drury signs the next day for like $1 million more. It's basically the same deal. So if I'm looking at it as like a Matt Carpenter versus Brandon Drury kind of conversation, I guess you go with Carpenter because it's the lefty, but it's like, is he going to be good? Because like, would you be surprised if he just goes back to how he was like for the past few years? I wouldn't.
No,
Now, of course, I
not at
don't want him
all.
to be like that, but it's hard to see if the stuff about him, working with his swing and adjusting it. Like I think it was Kyle in the chat said, yeah, he said he worked with his swing with Votto, he'll be fine. If that is the case and he's fine, then it's going to work out. It's going to be a good sign. But if he doesn't, he looks really bad and just kind of a washed piece. It's not like it's the end of the world either. Like it's a swing and a miss. It was like $7 million. Like it wasn't a crazy deal or anything. And it's more of like a platoon piece and someone will probably emerge. But it's just kind of like, oh, you lost Brandon Drury. You could have had Brandon Drury. And I think that's really the only argument with it. I do think it makes sense. Czar says, need that lefty. I see that. Yeah, I definitely get it. Another thing, too, is Carpenter does walk a lot. That's what Kyle's saying. Yeah, I mean, you look for his 12-year career, he's a 370 on base percentage guy. And that's going to be really good in the bottom of that order for the Padres, especially when you look at this top four. That's that insane. So you guys are kind of talking me into it even a little bit, just with the kind of having the case for the lefty and also getting on base at a 370 clip. If he can get on base 350, that's a good deal. Would you say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. 350, that's pretty high. I mean, if he's going to be batting fifth or sixth, yeah, I'll take 350 plus. I mean, I'm not asking for too much. A 750 OPS plus would do. I would be happy with that, considering the fifth or sixth spot was consistently filled last year with maybe around 750. I mean, Jake, I don't know what Jake's OPS was, but I don't think it was. I think it was hovering around 750.
Like probably finished like 740, 730, something like that, I would guess.
Something like that. Ha-Seong Kim was around like 721. So 750, I'll be pretty happy. But definitely a little bit of a controversial signing. A lot of people will say, well, this guy's old and this was his first good season in a long time. And maybe it wasn't even a good season. Maybe it was just a good couple months. Or people will look at it as he changed his swing and he's committed to, he's kind of, you see it, he's committed to winning. That's why I like that. I mean, that's the one thing I really like about him is that he really emphasized, I didn't come here because it's San Diego or because of the weather. I came here because I want to win. That was pretty awesome. Now, going to Seth Lugo, I would say that was an expected signing. It wasn't anything like crazy. I mean, we all know what he's going to be. He's going to start as a starter, probably start as a 6-man rotation. Time goes on, he's not going to be a part of that 6-man rotation no more. Probably go to the bullpen, and that was kind of Nick Martinez's role last year. But in my opinion, we cannot roll into the regular season with two guys that are the exact same archetype in the same rotation. No offense to Nick Martinez, but he balled out in a certain role. Expanding him to a role where he was okay. He was a fifth starter. He had around a 4 ERA, but it's kind of confusing if you're going to leave him into that fifth spot throughout the whole season when he really excelled out of a certain role. 10 million for the role he's going to be playing is pretty fantastic considering all the deals that we've been seeing. And I'm happy the guy's getting another shot to be a starter. You know, he deserves it. He was great last year, but there's a little too much risk in the back end of this rotation. There's not only the risk of, well, Seth Lugo isn't really a starter. I don't know the last start he made that lasted longer than 3 innings. He's got UCL problems. A lot of people have been saying that this guy might honestly be an injury away. And then you got Nick Martinez, who excelled in a certain role last year that I would love to keep him in, not throughout the entirety of the season, but I would love to get him back into the role that he was, I mean, quite possibly one of the more valuable pieces on the Padres last year. So I think, you know, you're going to start seeing the Padres go after the Johnny Cuetos, the Corey Kluber, Michael Wacha. You know, you're going to see them go after these kind of guys because we don't really have a strong back end rotation right now. We don't really have a guy that's guaranteed to give you at least 5 innings. And I'm not asking for a guy that's going to give you 5 innings with, you know, 1 or 2 run ball. I'm asking for a guy that'll give you 5 for 3, 5 for 4, 6 for 4, something like that. Because I don't know. I feel like banking on expanding somebody's innings as significant as you're going to do with Nick Martinez and Seth Lugo is a big thing to bet on. And I'm kind of scared that that's not going to pan out. And let's say it doesn't pan out, right? You got Xander Bogaerts now. You don't want to waste a single season of Soto because you realistically don't know if he's going to come back. Even if you do think he's going to come back, you don't know. You need somebody. You really do need somebody. You do not want to bank on 2 guys that have not pushed to that 100-inning limit, to the 150-inning limit. Because right now, with the moves they've made, it sure seems like they're trying to bank on at least one of those guys doing that. And we don't really know. I mean, we don't know what they're just trying to do in the trade market. If I were a betting man, I would bet he's in the trade market trying to trade for somebody. But you still, even if you trade for somebody, you probably still need one more guy. This is a 162-game season. You probably still need at least maybe Kluber or Cueto just for that security. Because a few years ago, we didn't have that security. And we had one of the biggest season collapses in MLB history. Not only that, you got to factor in Yu Darvish is getting older, more injury prone. Blake Snell in the first half, he's not very good. And then Joe Musgrove, I mean, you know, I love Joe. He's solid all year pretty much. He has those, you know, 2-3 starts in a row, 4 starts in a row where he gets rocked, but other than that, he's pretty damn good. Somebody brought up Jay Groom, another risk. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of risk being put into the back end of this rotation.
So I like how you're bringing up because I have a little bit of a different take on it all. I think that I think the Padres are in a fine spot to start the year. Now, when I say start the year, I don't mean start regular season. I mean to go into spring training with these guys. I think what their plan is we're going to head into spring training. You know, our 1, 2, 3 at 4, 5, 6. We're going to rock out a combination of Nick Martinez, Seth Lugo, and Jay Groom. And we're going to see what they have. We're going to see how they look when they're stretched out. We're going to see how comfortable we are with them pitching big-time games. Say one of Nick Martinez or Seth Lugo, they really don't feel confident that they're going to be able to turn them into a starter. They're like, you know what, Seth Lugo, I know we wanted to bring you on as a starter. We think your arm's going to fall off, you know, in June if we have you start. That's our problem, right? And they're like, look, we want to have you in a big role. We're going to keep Nick Martinez in the starter role. We think he's going to be able to do that. Or say it's flip-flop or say whatever it is. And then they look at Jay Groom. They're like, hey, you're good enough to be our 5 or you're not good enough to be our 5. I think their decisions are going to come after that. I think AJ is 100% looking to trade for someone to be their 4th starter potentially and have them that like 3 as a mix. But I think heading into spring training, I think if those are your guys, and then I think I see this Arthur too, and you're saying exactly how we feel about it. They might stretch out Morejon too, which might be a terrible idea. We kind of feel like it might be a terrible idea, and it's not like, oh, we can't do it. It's just like, if he gets hurt, like if he keeps getting hurt, it's like, when are you going to stop trying to make him a starter? That's the only thing.
If he gets hurt one more time, if he needs elbow surgery or anything like that one more time, his career might be over.
That's the thing. Yeah. So, and I think that's where it's hard to tell, like, what do you really want to do with these guys? And I think that's why you go into spring kind of thinking like, okay, we have all these guys that might be starters. Let's see what we have. If they're not, that's when you go and you get a Cueto, because I saw Cueto was linked to the Padres a little bit. You go and you sign a Cueto, right? Or you go and you make a trade for someone. Basically, any player that's on the Marlins is available for a trade, or any pitcher on the Marlins is available for a trade. So you potentially go and you try to make a deal with a guy in the Marlins, like with the Marlins for someone, whether that be, you're going high end for Lopez, you're going for one of their other guys. But I feel like it's fine going into spring training like this. Now, I would be concerned if they start the year and they're kind of like, if it feels like they're uneasy about either one of Nick Martinez or Seth Lugo, and Jay Groom doesn't look good, like if he looks bad, because then all of a sudden you're like, are you really like banking on like stretching out Morejon? Or are you like really confident that one of these guys is going to be healthy? Because early in the season, like if you have a couple guys go down, all of a sudden you're going to need to trade for a lot. You're not going to be able to have like the ability to go and like sign one guy here and do something really quick. So I'm fine with it going into spring training to kind of see what you have. But I think that there is another corresponding move, and I'm fully expecting that to kind of be the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's even the All-Star break. Maybe they're like, look, we have all these guys. We need this many innings by here. Like, I think we're going to be able to do it. And that's what their thought is. We're going to do maybe they're going to do 6-man with Jay Groom. I don't know what their plan is, but like, maybe they just want to see what they have in-house before they go and add anyone else. And that's what I think is their plan. And honestly, I don't really have a problem with that. I think that's okay to do, but I do get the concerns. And I think every single fan that, experienced that 2021 downfall probably has a little bit of PTSD of that, of like, dude, we need depth. Yeah. But you can still find it elsewhere. I think that's the big difference. And in 2021, what was the big thing? AJ went all in on Scherzer, whiffed, and then everything fell apart. That was the issue. So unless you have a situation like that, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, and that's fair. It's just it's weird because sports is a very it's a day by day thing. Like that a move is probably coming. AJ's trying to get another pitcher via trade market or one of those lower free agent signings, Cueto, Kluber, those guys. Chase really likes Wade Miley. So I could really see them doing one of those moves. But the fact that we don't know keeps us on our toes. But yeah, banking on guys that, Seth Lugo, injury prone. Nick Martinez hasn't been stretched out. Ryan Weathers, I don't know what's going on with that guy. Adrian Morejon has a significant injury history. One more, he might be done. So everything points to AJ's probably going through the trade market. And one thing you brought up was, we might see what we have in house first and wait to the trade deadline. And the way I see that is, all right, they're probably banking on the Brewers sucking. And you know who AJ will go after if the Brewers suck? Because the Brewers sucked after they traded Josh Hader. They sucked. And they traded a few other guys. They were really bad. If they're bad going into the trade deadline, they might trade one of their pitchers. And that's where AJ normally strikes. Same thing happened with Juan Soto. There's a lot of things that, and same thing happened with the Dodgers for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. Like, teams, when the writing is on the wall, they will trade the guy. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to wait till the All-Star break, but if they do, I think they're in a good enough position to really say, like, look, we're going to be all right. This is a good team. The lineup can carry us for as long as we need. As long as they're healthy, we're going to be okay. But you don't want to bank on that because pitching is better than ever. What did I say?
I was going to say, it'd be so concerning if you have like, we got a Ryan Weathers day. We got a Reese Kinnear day. And it's like June. We're like, dude, what is happening? This is disaster mode.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say. With that spring training stuff that I was bringing up, I think it's more of like they want to see with what they have, and unless they're really comfortable, then they're going to pull a deal, or they're going to sign another guy like a Cueto or who is it? Who else? Kluber's there, right?
Kluber, yeah, Kluber's there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So like I would say like Cueto or Kluber probably makes the most sense for a potential deal. But I think that's what you're kind of looking for there. What were
Yeah.
you looking for in the comments though?
Shoot, I kind of forgot. How did Taylor Rogers get $12 million a year for 3 years? Hey, bro, he got
That's
his
wild.
bag. Congrats to him, and sucks for the Giants because that guy kind of stinks.
I think
But
Bill's comments really accurate.
no, yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Completely agree. I mean, you do need 8 or 9 pitchers, and I mean, I think they can get there. It's just a matter of like you have what 1,
I
2,
feel like 3
3.
or 4 wild cards.
Yeah, you have 3 or 4 wild
You
cards.
might
You
be
can,
there.
yeah,
You could be there right now in theory, but you might also be
exactly.
very far away.
Exactly. Like those 3 or 4 wild cards is that's way too much. Like realistically, those 3 or 4 wild cards should be all right. This guy got hurt. This guy got hurt. This guy got hurt, and my 4th guy got hurt. So we need these next 3 or 4 guys. Remember the Brewers last year? They lost like 2, 3 guys in their rotation. They were able to replace them with Ashby and a few different guys, and they held up until they traded Josh Hader. They
So I got a
held up.
question for you then.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Brewers, if the Padres were to trade for one of the Brewers starters, are you thinking that they would go after who? Corbin Burns?
You know AJ will swing for that. I think more realistic is Brandon Woodruff, but you know AJ's first call is going to be, "Hey, what's going on with Corbin Burns?" That he's not going to say what's going on with Brandon Woodruff. He's going to say what's going on with Corbin Burns, and then if they say nothing, I mean he's not going anywhere. Okay, what about Woodruff? And then I doubt they trade Peralta.
I'm not like super high on trading for Woodruff. I would way rather like take a swing on Corbin Burns or go for like another guy.
Yeah,
I don't know, dude. Woodruff just seems kind of like a risky guy to trade for, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean,
I don't know how much I love it.
He's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's good. He's good.
Yeah,
he's
good, yeah.
pretty old though, right? Like he's like
That's a good
he's.
question.
I think he's sneaky old. I'm pretty sure he's sneaky old.
Sneaky old.
He's okay. He's only 29. He's not that. That's not that bad.
He just looks old, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it is.
It's the facial hair, man.
Yeah, maybe. What if they stretch out Nabil?
Nah.
I mean, for a couple games, it's all right, but like not
Yeah.
like all right. Nabil's a 5th starter. That's sus too. And I also see like Arthur. You also set up here Reese Kinnear. Like he hasn't been that bad. He hasn't either, but he usually pitches 3 innings. It's just like it's a heavy amount of innings on the bullpen.
Exactly.
Okay, I see a lot of stuff about this, and I wasn't really planning to talk about this, but contract year Blake Snell. Well, what are your Blake Snell predictions? Is he gonna go ham? Is he gonna go Cy Young Blake Snell? Because I see everyone in the chat. We haven't even discussed Blake Snell for 1 second, and everyone's talking, "Hey, Blake Snell, man."
Blake Snell, huh? Yeah, that's a Blake Snell's all about his bag. That seems like a sure thing. Blake Snell's all about his bag, and he probably loves San Diego. Don't get me wrong, but that dude wants his money. Now the only thing is, we've seen it both years with him in a Padres jersey, from like April to June, early July. He looks awful. Everybody hates him. And remember, last year everyone hated him. We were like, can you guys wait? Like, could you guys just wait till the All-Star break, right? And we were fully on board with that because Blake Snell is one of those guys. It seems like it takes him a really long time to ramp up. Seems like he has to go through this whole big time off-season program thing, and he didn't really get the chance to do that because of the lockout. And with the opportunity to be able to do that, with the full offseason with Ruben Niebla, being able to work with the guys, you might get a better version of Blake Snell in terms of you might get more consistency out of him. And that would be great to see, considering you really need another reliable pitcher. You know, Darvish is going to be reliable. You know, Joe Musgrove is going to be reliable for almost the entirety of the season. But the big concern is, Blake, we need consistency. We need you to be hot, not hot, but we need to be a pretty damn serviceable pitcher from the beginning, from the jump. Because last year he started with like a 4 something, like a mid 4, high 4 ERA, ended up in the threes, which is great. That just shows how dominant he was at the end of the season. But we need more so of that consistency, that consistent 3.5 to 3.8. We can't afford for him to start the season slow because we don't have the rotation depth to be able to do that. We don't have Sean Manaea going out there for the first half of the season, giving you 6, 7, 8 in a row quality starts. You don't have Mike Clevenger having a solid month or two. Like, you don't have Mackenzie Gore pitching as one of the best pitchers in baseball for a little bit. I mean, you don't have that flexibility to where you can afford for one of your stars to not be good. So we need him to be good. Somebody brought up the Sean Murphy crap. Sean Murphy just got robbed. How are the Braves doing this? $73 million for 6 years. That is around like what, $13 million a year for a Gold Glove catcher, one of the top catchers in baseball. Bro, oh my God. Do they have a gun to their head when they're signing the contract?
Dude, every single guy is like, yeah, we got this guy. We signed him for maybe half of what he was worth. Like every single time. I don't understand. It's ridiculous. That's how much it was? 13 a year? I didn't see his
Yeah,
extension. I know he
like
got
12.
traded.
It was like
Dude, he
12.2.
has crazy numbers too.
He does,
He has
man.
like
He's
really
he's
crazy
one of
numbers.
the best gloves in baseball.
Let's see. Contract is come on, what is this? 6-year contract. I guess it's not super long. But
6
still.
years, 73 mil, 12.16 a year.
Oh my
That's right,
god, that's
Jason.
nothing
Yeah,
for
they
him.
do. 'Cause this is crazy. 12 million.
Oh,
What does Austin Nola make?
did you see though? Justin said that his 3 of the years are arbitration too, to be fair.
Okay.
That's still low though. Like guys
Yeah.
still make like a lot in arbitration though. That's the thing. I mean, Soto's been arbitration for like 2 years. He's made 20 mil each year. That's why
Yeah.
I think it's kind of wild.
Hmm.
Unless he's like, I want to see what his deal on spot. Sorry guys, I'm pulling up his spot track deal right now. I want to see this. I mean, he was estimated to be like 3 mil this year. That is pretty low. That's like where Grisham is kind of in his
Nothing, yeah.
like path. That makes more sense. And it's not super long. I guess that makes a little bit more sense. I mean, but
Okay.
it's just I feel like
Yeah.
it's just because it's the Braves. Like,
Well,
oh, the
yeah,
Braves signed this guy for nothing, and you keep
exactly.
seeing that.
Exactly. When you see it's the Braves, you get like, dude, what the hell's going on over there? But yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy stuff. Good for them. I mean, I don't hate the Braves. Somebody's got to beat the Dodgers, whether it's us or the Braves. I
Or
don't
they'll beat
like
the
them.
Mets. They'll
Yeah,
put the Mets into the wild card again.
yeah, exactly.
So another guy at the Padres were linked to a ton was Nathan Eovaldi. They don't end up getting him. But what do you think about the Rangers picking up Eovaldi?
That's a good pickup. I mean, 17 million a year with incentives. You know, he's somewhat injury prone. He's missed some starts because of injuries, but I think it's a good deal. I think it's a low risk deal. You're getting a guy that's kind of consistent. I mean, he had kind of a fall off last year. Velocity went down. Um, yeah, I like it though. I mean, if you're getting the Nathan Eovaldi that I saw, I think you're getting a good deal out of him. And he's signed. He's a number three. He's a number three. So paying him 17 mil for a number three for a guy that's going to put up what I think what's his career ERA in the 3.8s. Had a pretty good year last year. Um, yeah, I like that for the Rangers. I like that he's not in the NL. Um, Granted, you do have to play every team this year, but hopefully we don't have to see. Hopefully we don't have to see the DeGrom, Perez, Eovaldi trio that's at the top of their rotation. That's a pretty good rotation, but good signing, 17 mil. I mean, I definitely didn't think he was going to go for that low. I thought 17 is pretty low, but considering there are incentives, if he gets them, it's going to be more, probably like 20 if he reaches those, which is pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was. Oh, they also got Heaney too. So the Rangers rotation is looking a lot
Yeah,
better.
we got
Dude, I
depth.
mean,
Yeah.
their last couple off seasons have been pretty crazy. I don't know if
Mhm.
they're going to be that great yet, but like for them moving, like improving their team, they've done a lot of good things.
Yeah, they're moving
Um,
the needle.
but yeah, so I see a few questions here. The only other thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to go through the best rotations in the sport, but I do see a few questions here. So let's let's kind of see some stuff throughout here. Arthur asks, what about Kenta Maeda from Minnesota? Buy low on him. I actually like that idea. Isaac, you don't like it that much, right? You don't really think Maeda is that great?
I
He's
don't think
cheap, dude. He
Myers.
makes like 3
Yeah,
million.
that's the thing is he's cheap. That's the thing that I'm trying to understand is that like, okay, relax, Isaac. Like they don't need a star, they don't need a stud. They just need a guy that's gonna eat innings because the top of the rotation's got him. But I mean, when you start seeing all these, Fernando, you extend Fernando, you get Manny, you get Soto, you get Xander, Jake turns into a stud, Hassan Kim turns into a stud. You start just wanting nothing but studs. Um, I mean, that's the way I see it. But yeah, it's I gotta understand, and I think we all gotta understand they don't need some big time player. Granted, I would love to have Sonny Gray, but realistically, they don't need Sonny Gray. They could use an innings eater at the bottom of their rotation. But the problem with potentially getting an innings eater, what if you could use those prospects in the middle of the season to go get somebody better to throw in a package? Maeda should be cheap as hell though, but I would really like to see them go after a trade with the Twins, with the Marlins, but they always go after this weird team that we do not expect, and it ends up being really fun. And it ends up being, I mean, when I didn't work out, but what have you heard from Uribe and who's the other one? Ah, shoot, it was someone that everyone really liked. Ah, that's gonna bug
From
me.
this year?
Yeah, who did we trade to get Mania? Uribe and who?
Oh, let me look. Let me look.
It was someone that people
Um,
really liked, but I don't really mind it. Maybe they do turn out to be all right, but Mania was all right for a little while, kind of blew it in the playoffs. But
dude, I'm so bad at remembering
I don't
who
remember.
traded.
I feel like people really like that other guy. Um,
Adrian Martinez.
yes, people loved that guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
we wanted him to get some starts. Remember, they
yeah, we
never
wanted.
started him.
They never started him. But yeah, that happened. But I just don't want to include prospects in a trade if it could benefit us later. But innings eater always works. Twins is going to be a vulnerable target. Whether you want to get a
Yeah,
package of like Gray and Kepler, Maeda and Arias, whatever it is. Max Kepler is such a fascinating player because his stats they suck. But if you go on his baseball savant, this guy is a baseball savant darling. Like red on red on red on red. And this isn't like no light red. This is dark red, like straight up like a stud. So if you just look at baseball savant, you would think, oh, this guy probably hits like, 850 plus OPS. And then you look at the stats and it's, oh, a 7 something OPS. But
dude, it
yeah,
looks like it's like not this past year, but it's kind of like what Max Muncy's been able to produce like for like the
yeah.
couple seasons prior to last year. That's it.
Mhm,
That's what you think he'd be producing like. Like
exactly.
you think he'd just be walking a ton, just not really chasing, just a lot of hard contact. You're like, oh, this guy's probably putting up great numbers. I mean, remember a couple years ago they were talking about Mac Muncy like in the MVP race, and he wasn't
Yeah.
really, but his
Yeah.
numbers were just so high. It was like,
Mhm,
hey, like he's putting up like a 950 OPS for like a
yeah.
long time, a couple years
Mhm,
back. But then
mhm.
you look at Kepler's numbers, and it's like, wait a second, this doesn't add up
It doesn't
at
add up.
all.
Not at all. Like you're either he might be the unluckiest person in the sport if you're looking at exit velocity and all that.
What about this one from Lizzie? Who is our third outfielder on opening day?
Mm. Third outfielder,
You got Grish,
Grish,
Soto.
Fernando, and Soto
Well,
right
no,
now.
you don't got Fernando.
Oh, opening day. You're kind of right.
I bet it's Azakar, probably,
Yeah,
or
it's
Carpenter. Or
probably
Carpenter
Azar.
could play left, but
Yeah, Carpenter. Shoot, I forgot there was another name, but I mean, the good thing about Bob Melvin. Oh, David Dahl. Yeah, I forgot
I
about
don't
that
think so.
guy.
I
um,
would be surprised.
like the good thing about Bo Mel and I guess the Padres organization last year was they were able to get production out of guys that you didn't expect them to get production from. Jose Azocar. Um, you got some production out of Jorge Alfaro for a while. Um, who was it? Sergio? No, not Sergio. What's his name? Sergio? The other Alcantara. You didn't get much production out of him, but you got some
You
innings out
got
of him.
no. You're
Like
lying to yourself. You
defensive,
got
yeah.
no production out of him.
No, you got no production out of him. He probably got like 2 hits defensively. He was okay. But like you're able to get something out of these guys, so that's a good thing. But it's only 20 games. Like, who cares? You can go
Yeah.
8-12. I don't care.
Yeah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And also, I'm looking right now. I'm trying to see who on their 40 man is there. I'm not seeing anyone else. There could also be like a camp invite, something like that, where they're like, oh, this guy's been playing well, like Azakar last year. Dude, Azakar, honestly, like for what anyone would have expected, Azakar had a great year last year. I don't know what
Yeah.
his final numbers were, but he had a lot of good at bats late in games. Played good defense for the most part. Besides, like there was like 2 games where he was just absolutely
Trash.
horrible.
Yeah.
Like you remember that one where he dropped like 2 or 3 balls and Alfred just like
Yeah.
lost them. And it was like, dude,
I was,
no, they're gonna send
I
him
was,
down because we were hyped over him, and we're like, no, they're gonna send
yeah,
him down.
yeah, he was solid. I mean, he probably the stats probably won't tell you what we're telling you, but passed the eye test. I mean, compared to what we expected, I certainly didn't expect anything out of him. So, yeah,
Yeah, it was cool to see. And just as like a 4th outfielder, it's not that crazy. So yeah, I'd probably
yeah,
bet Azakar for now. I don't know. I don't think they bring anyone else. I think Carpenter will get some starts there though. You gotta expect him to, right? Sometimes you have Dahl DH, sometimes you have Carpenter in the outfield.
yeah. I
It
mean,
still kind of feels like they need like one more bat and one more arm.
they do. Yeah, they
I
do.
don't really know if they're gonna get anyone though. That's the thing.
That that's the thing is that you kind of need to go to the trade. That's why I like get the idea of going to the Twins because what are they? I mean, they always suck. They're gonna suck even more without Correa. What is the point of keeping those guys if you don't really have a chance to compete? Um, Granted, it's baseball. Everybody has a chance to compete, but not everybody. But
You don't think that was it Rich Hill that just signed with the Pirates? You don't think that's gonna move the needle for them?
I think I think what was his name? Vince Velasquez is definitely going to move the needle for them.
They signed Vince Velasquez too?
They did, yeah, dude. They made a hype video for him.
That is something that is
I
wild.
swear. They made a hype video for him of him like striking dudes out. They had music in the background. They had him, throwing on the jersey, stuff like that. And I was like, I would never thought I would see a hype video for Vince Velasquez.
Dude, we were like a good team, and I don't even think there was any hype video or anything positive. It was more like everyone was like, "Fuck, we're starting Vince Velasquez."
Yeah,
There was nothing
exactly.
exciting about it.
It's like,
Oh
oh
my god.
damn, he looks good for 2 innings, and then he got rocked.
Yeah. I don't know. Campy. I
That's the
mean,
thing.
if they don't give Campy at bats, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, if you don't want to use him, bro, just like it makes all the sense in the world to give him at bats because like you don't have Alfaro anymore. You don't have a second catcher. Even then, yeah, Alfaro was clutch, but let's be real here.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't
I
that
think
good. Like he struck out way too much.
I just want him to get at bats.
Yeah, me too.
You gotta give him some. Yeah. Bauer. I think everyone for us is a hard pass on Bauer. I don't think he's gonna play anywhere unless it's like a really crappy team. Like
Yeah.
no contender's gonna sign him. No one. There's probably not gonna be anyone that signs Bauer. I'd be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, I feel like there's gonna be some crappy team that's like, we need ticket sales and
Yeah.
bring them in. The Dodgers have how many more days to decide? Like,
I don't think they'll bring him back. I'd be really surprised if they do.
me
'Cause, I
too.
mean,
Well, I
you
saw.
heard how the players talked about him.
Oh, the players
The
hate
players
him.
didn't like him.
The players hate
Yeah.
him. Yeah, that's the thing is that like when you look at the talent, you're excited and you see his YouTube videos right now. He's still pumping 95. His stuff still looks really good, but like the
No one feels
Padres
it.
clubhouse, the chemistry after Hosmer left was crazy good. It was a super fun team, super fun clubhouse. And does Bauer ruin that? because not only because
It's
of the
not even
human
worth
being he
trying. It's
is,
not even worth trying.
like not only because of the human being he is, but like with the stuff tied to him, there's so much risk in a team bringing in Bauer. But the Dodgers apparently want to look into everything that happened, and
It'd be crazy.
So
I'd be surprised.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't think Alfaro is coming back. I see Arthur said he has to sell his Alfaro jersey. That sucks, man. That's a
yeah,
cool little like niche jersey to have too.
yeah, because I mean he was a fun player.
Yeah. He probably is gonna be gone.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Unless
oh
did
yeah,
he already get he didn't get signed, did he?
nah,
I mean maybe you bring him back. I would be a little bit surprised.
me
They're
too.
gonna they're gonna start spring. He's not gonna be signed, and they're gonna be like, man, this dude Campy. We can't stand this guy behind the plate. They're still gonna hate Campy by the time that
Yeah,
rolls
dude,
around.
that's the thing is they freaking hate Campy. But the funny, but they could just be like, you know what? Just bring him back for the vibes, because Alfaro has that dude's vibes are immaculate.
Do you remember? Oh my god, dude, when Matt Stairs was here and he was only pinch hit, you bring
Yeah,
Alfaro and him just
yeah,
be the
that
designated
is
pinch hit guy.
that is literally what Alfaro did last year. Oh, bottom of the ninth, Jorge.
Dude, it was great because it was great because it was like there was one that he like lined out on. It was still a walk off, and it was like everyone was going crazy for him. Like it was just
Mhm.
it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah, Musgrove did work good with Campy too, and everyone said that Campy's defense has improved a lot too. Which I mean,
yeah.
I don't know catcher play that well.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually thought his defense and especially his framing improved a lot. People didn't really like when he had his glove up and then went down and then went back up, but you're starting to see a lot of major leaguers kind of start doing that. You're starting to see a lot of like just baseball people in general really start promoting that. A lot of people say it confuses the pitcher, takes the pitcher off his target. They're major league pitchers. They don't do they need a target? They know where they're supposed to throw it. So whatever works for Luis Campusano is going to be beneficial for the Padres. I mean, I think a lot of people are growing impatient with him, and rightfully so. It's been a long time, and he's the only prospect out of the guys that we all loved. I mean, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Luis Patino, um, Francisco. There's so many prospects. You can go up and down the list, and there's two guys that remain, and it's Luis Campusano and Ryan Weathers, which could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. Either nobody wanted them, which is probably it. But as far as Luis Campusano goes, you really do have to preach patience with catchers. Catchers like you know how in football tight ends normally take like 3 years to really acclimate and start producing in the league, kind of. Look,
do you see this comment?
don't.
um, oh, I forgot, dude. Nomar Mazara was decent for us for a while too
That's the
last
guy who
year.
got production out of exactly. That was the thing, is that they got production out of like really random guys.
Yeah, and I don't really think the Padres have many holes right now at all. I think they're pretty good. I think that there's just a couple moves that they could make to kind of improve depth and do a couple things there.
Yeah,
Um, I see people talking about Cueto. We were talking about Cueto a little bit earlier. We were just saying like, yeah, it would make sense to go get Cueto. Like it does make sense, but you probably don't need to do it right away. I mean, he could get snagged. It's the only thing. There's Kluber as well. There's a couple guys that they might. I think that they are going to wait till spring to go and get because you usually see that every year. There's like a handful of players of older pitchers that get signed kind of in the middle of spring because whatever team gets their guys and they go, we don't feel that confident with this guy. Maybe it's for this guy to come on like a Cueto or a Kluber to be a fifth starter, or maybe it's just for insurance. It's just for depth.
yeah,
And I think they could easily sign one of those guys, but probably
yeah,
not super close.
yeah.
Um,
And for as far as it goes, regarding the filling, how many holes the Padres have, I also don't think they have very many holes. I think no team is perfect. What team in baseball right now is? You can maybe look at the Mets. Cool, the Mets. What did they? Honestly, be real with yourselves. Did they improve that much?
dude, they
You replace
didn't. That's the
They
thing.
didn't. Exactly. You got Justin Verlander, sure. You replaced Jacob DeGrom. Cool. I mean, they're both very, good pitchers. They're not very far off from each other. You still got Max Scherzer. You replace Chris Bassett, a very consistent, reliable pitcher, with Kodai Senga, a guy that,
And you lost Walker.
man, I sound like such a hater when I talk about Kodai Senga. But I hate
I
it.
mean, well, dude,
It's
okay, I
warranted.
like Kodai. No, I like Kodai Senga, but it's a risky move. Like
Yeah,
we
yeah, I
even
mean,
said that. Look, we like the idea of bringing this guy in as a risky move, but he's not a guy that you can bank on to go 150 and be like a sub 3.5 guy. And
exactly.
especially in his first year, there might
And
be some bumps in the road in his first year.
and people are comparing it to, like, dude, no, he's not Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett is so much better than him. He might not have the stuff that he has, but he's consistent. He's reliable. He's always good. Um, Other than that, like, they still they might have gotten Correa. We don't know yet. We don't know how all
Yeah,
that's gonna work out, but that's gonna be the only move that I'm like, wow, that's a pretty darn good move. That one moves the needle for them.
it
Other
was
than
more just
that,
bringing guys back.
exactly. I don't really feel like they move the needle that much.
I don't think they're
But
fully complete.
I don't either. And
I
as far as, going back to the Padres, like, no team is, especially going into what, December, every team still has holes. Every single team still has holes. So there's nothing to worry about yet. It's come, March is when you should start worrying. Even then, last year, we had a hole in the starting pitching rotation, right? A week before the season. Oh, the Padres got Sean Manaea. Oh, cool. Holes filled. Now we're good. And
yeah,
then the main worry was the lineup. The lineup wasn't, honestly, it was middle of the pack, but it got us to where we wanted to go. Um, but like,
yeah.
you look at the starting lineup. What holes really are there? Just maybe DH because Matt Carpenter is kind of unreliable. Other than that, I can't really think of one. They're all projected for 100 plus WRC plus, and we're projected for 100 wins right now, despite having a weak back end rotation.
Yeah, and there's also guys too that you're banking at in like backup spots. Like you're not banking, but if they pan out, it's really good. Like a Luis Campusano, Iggy Rosario, right? Potential. I mean, Azucar is like your fourth outfield. I mean, I don't think that Azucar is super special or anything, but like you have a bunch of guys that have played. You know what I mean? Or like kind of decently highly touted prospects. Where it's like, dude, if Iggy's like a solid player, that's huge. If
Yeah.
he's just a depth player, it's like, oh shit, look what else we have now. So like, you don't know who you're gonna sign. You're gonna sign a couple guys to come in and play spring ball that are gonna look okay. You saw that with Mazzara. You saw that with Azucar last year. They produce a lot early on, and then eventually you bring in Soto and Mazzara's gone. But like, there was a lot of that last year. Ha-Seong Kim, he emerged. He could be a lot better. Like, I don't know. I don't think that there's really that many holes. The only thing I would say is another starter. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And like you just said, I think that they're gonna go into spring with this group and then go, do we need another guy or do we not need another guy? And I think that's when they're gonna make that decision. So
Yeah.
that's pretty
Exactly.
much all I got for the Padres specifically. But Isaac, I wanted to, before we wrap it up, since we were talking about a lot of these different pitching moves, one is who are your top 5 rotations right now in baseball?
Mm. Yeah, I like the Yankees. I really like pairing Rodon and Cole together. Yeah, Cole was kind of a sticky stuff merchant, and he hasn't looked as good ever since. But he's still a pretty darn good pitcher. You pair him with Nestor Cortez as your top 3, and you're looking really good. If Nestor Cortez has a similar year to last year, I'll try and remember the rest of the rotation as I go. But next, shoot, yeah, it's not as deep, but I still really like the Dodgers as the Dodgers rotation. And a lot of people, yeah, we're Padres fans, and yeah, we're not supposed to like the Dodgers. But I don't want to let my bias get in front of me. They're still a 90-win team. Minimum. They could probably still win 95 games with the team that they have right now, despite losing Trey Turner, despite, not really making any significant moves in the offseason. They could still realistically win that many games because they're their bullpen's really good. Their rotation is still pretty good. Clayton Kershaw, you got Pepio coming up. You got Julio Urias, one of the top pitchers in baseball right now. Dustin May will probably, I don't know how his health is going right now, but let's say he's healthy. That's easily, I've always really been, on the field, I've always been a big fan of Dustin May. So that is a freaky rotation that you could really think, wow, This guy might be a 1 or 2 on every other team. Julio Urias is a 1 on every other team. Clayton Kershaw is 1 or 2 on every other team. Walker Buehler, I don't think is pitching this year. Dustin May with the stuff he has, if he let's say with the stuff he has, he pitches 150 innings. You're looking at probably one of the top pitchers in baseball. And then I'm trying to remember the rest of the rotations, man. It's been a minute since I looked at them, but I'm gonna put the Mets up there. As much as I don't think they improved, you still got Justin Verlander coming off a Cy Young year. You got a Hall of Famer, Max Scherzer, Kodai Senga's. We brought up how risky of a move he is, but let's say they do get something out of Kodai Senga. He throws 99. He has a ghost fork. Very, very good pitch mix he has. Who else did they get? Quintana from the Cardinals, right? And Carrasco. Yeah, that's a good 5. That's a good 5. That's a very solid 5. It's a little risky, but I think that's kind of the theme that we're seeing throughout all the baseball, because pitching is a very risky thing to buy into right now, which is why you're kind of seeing maybe it's not a bad thing that AJ Preller keeps trading for controllable pitching, because all these guys that get locked up to long-term deals, they kind of end up getting hurt. So that's kind of a risky rotation, but it's pretty good. Always gonna like the Braves rotation. Max Fried coming off a Cy Young caliber year. Spencer Strider having the strikeout stuff he has. Kyle Wright having 20. I know wins aren't a pitcher stat, but I mean, to win that many games, you got to be doing something right. You got to keep your team in the game, all that kind of good stuff. Always gonna like the Braves rotation. Very good rotation there. Who else did I have? I had one more. Oh, the Astros. Yes, did they lose Justin Verlander? Sure. But Christian Javier, you got Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers, still a very, very good rotation over there also. And that's going to round out my top 5, because I feel like maybe I'm not taking as much talent into consideration. We're talking depth. We're talking rotations in general. And those are the rotations I like the most. Those are the rotations I feel like, all right, you're not really going to get an up and down swoon from either of these rotations. You're going to get something consistent out of that Yankees rotation, out of that Mets rotation. The Dodgers are always going to have a solid rotation. Same thing with the Braves, and same thing with the Astros. Those are year in and year out. The last 3 I mentioned, Dodgers, Braves, Astros, are always going to be in the top 10 minimum of rotation. The Mets have a very solid rotation, and I feel like you have the Rangers in yours. That will definitely be an honorable mention. The only reason I didn't include them, same thing with the Mets. They do have a lot of risk, but I think it's a little more.
Yeah, for me, so I'll go 5-1, but I'll toss out my honorable mentions first. So I got the Blue Jays and the Astros as honorable mentions. Both are strong staffs. And I mean, you brought up the Astros. You could easily put the Astros in your top 5 just because they're consistently up there. But I do have the Rangers at 5 just because the Rangers rotation is really, really dirty, dude. I mean, you bring in the best pitcher in baseball. I really, really like it. I feel like a lot of people aren't super high on the Rangers. I don't know why. Like, we were looking at the rotation earlier. I had it up here. You also have who is the who's the other stud that they have? Martin Perez. You have Martin Perez, Jacob deGrom, and then who's their 3? I had it up. I lost it.
Eovaldi?
I wrote these down. You signed Eovaldi and you have Heaney. So your 1 through 4 is deGrom, Martin Perez, Heaney, Eovaldi in any order. That's really, really good. So I have them at 5. They also have John Gray too. I think he's probably gonna be their 5. So you got John Gray. At 4, I have the Dodgers. The only reason I don't have the Dodgers higher, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up outperforming this either, it's just because you don't have Walker Buehler. Urias is a 1. I think that your other top end guy is Walker Buehler, and he's not going to be there. I love Dustin May. I think Dustin May is an absolute stud. You have Kershaw, another 1, but he's been hurt a lot lately. That's the other thing there. So only because you don't have Walker Buehler is why they're not up there. If they have Walker Buehler, they're probably number 1. You didn't even bring up Kershaw, huh?
I didn't. No, I didn't bring up Tony Gonsolin.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's a really deep rotation. So I have them at 4. At 3, I have the Braves. I don't think people give Spencer Strider enough hype. I mean, he got a lot of hype, but he was absolutely insane last year.
They
So
shut
they're
that
going to be really,
200
really
guys.
good. Yeah, and then at two, at 1 and 2, I have the two New York teams. I'm going to put the Mets at 2 and the Yankees at 1. I think the Rodon deal puts the Yankees above. The Mets are a little bit sus just because of all the injuries that they've had, like all their guys' injury history. I mean, Justin Verlander, that's probably one of the guys you're most confident in terms of their injury history, and he's what, 42? That's not
Yeah.
exactly the best spot you want to be in. Kodai Senga's had a ton of shoulder problems. Max Scherzer gets dead arm like every single year for like the past 3 years. Quintana and Carrasco as your 4 or 5 is pretty good. It's like they're good, but there is a lot of risk there. That's why I don't have them ahead of the Yankees. But Yankees at 1, I mean, you got really, really good arms. Nestor Cortez came on last year. Also another really cool dude there. And then you got Cole and Rodon, and that's a really dirty top 3. So that's my 1 through 5 there for rotations. I see a couple comments here. I look like Matt Carpenter with the stash. I would have to shave all this if I wanted to do it. I'll get a Carpenter jersey. I'll just pull up to the stadium next year like that. I don't
You know
know if
where they
I
did
mean, I think that's underselling Matt Carpenter's mustache, to be honest, though, right? Like, dude, that thing's
that thing's
huge.
crazy, yeah. You know where they did him dirty? They did him dirty in the graphic of welcoming him to San Diego because he looks
I
like a
didn't see
wolf.
it.
He looks
Really?
like World War II. Dude, he looks so old. They did him dirty. And
I
realistically, he
gotta
doesn't
find
look
this.
that old. But yeah, they did him dirty. Best lineups, we could definitely talk about the best lineups soon, but we
Yeah,
didn't do too much.
we'll do this next episode.
Yeah, we didn't do too much.
We looked up into the rotations a little bit before.
Yeah, we didn't do too much into the rotations. We kind of just went based off names, but um, yeah, we'll look into best lineups for sure soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much I got. I think the plan is to probably hop on Thursday. I don't know if you're free, Isaac. Probably a combination of 2 of us, or hopefully all of us.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, it was fun to talk. I wanted to talk about Seth Lugo because I think that's a really interesting deal. Matt Carpenter. I just thought it was a little bit odd. Like it made sense, but it also was like, it makes sense, but it's kind of a little bit of a risky move.
Yeah,
Like when you look at and you kind of look at his past seasons and stuff. But that could
yeah,
also just be a home run deal because Carpenter could be a stud.
he's cheap.
Carpenter could just rake in San Diego. That's the
Yeah,
other
and
thing.
he's cheap for sure, and he's cheap. One thing, Wil Myers. We didn't get to talk about Will. Um, I mean, I'm thankful for all the years that he. That's it though. Not the production. I'm thankful for all the time that he's been here. You could tell if there was one guy that really wanted to have that kind of playoff run at the end, just because he's been here for so long. He's gotten his ass kicked by the Dodgers for so long. You know, there was one guy that really wanted it. It was Wil Myers. He wanted it just as much as we did. So
Yeah.
that was really awesome to see. To send them to the moon the way that we did, coming off 2 playoff victories against 200 win teams. I mean, I don't think you really asked for more in your last year with a team that committed money to you, committed time to you, and committed patience to you. And um, I'm happy that he was patient with the Padres too, because it took a long time for them to be good during his tenure. But I'm happy with the tenure. Not a lot of stuff on the field that was too crazy, but hitting for the cycle and everything like that, and just kind of showing appreciation to the city was kind of cool. So that was cool for sure.
Yeah, definitely got to shout out Wil Myers. I also thought it was really cool how he talked about kind of how he saw the transformation of the Padres from like a
Yeah,
really shitty organization to becoming an organization that like everyone has like faith in moving forward,
yeah,
which I thought was cool because like, yeah, like we hear guys talk about it, but like you don't really hear guys talk about that when they leave. Like, when
exactly.
is the last time you heard about that? Like, dude, even like big names in NFL. I mean, you remember when Richard Sherman left Seattle and he was like,
Oh,
dude, fuck
he
Seattle. Like
tapped on him. Yeah,
he was like that happens so often. Like Peyton Manning and the Colts, who was like super iffy. You had all that stuff happen. Dude, even Tom Brady and like,
and
dude,
the
like so many of
Patriots.
these
Yeah,
guys. And like people talk about their old organizations, they're like, everyone on
and
the Red Sox, everyone on the Red Sox lately, everyone
yeah,
seems to be like not really slandering them full on, but they don't seem very happy about how their tenures ended in Boston. Like, so I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool thing to see. And I
for
think
sure.
that, well, it makes everyone kind of like, oh yeah, Wil Myers is a real cool guy. So yeah, shout out Wil Myers because I did I think we all kind of liked Wil Myers. I think the role that they gave him was a lot, and I think that's why it felt
Yeah,
like this guy's not really producing money value, but like he was pretty consistent. That's the other thing. He was pretty consistent, not game to game. He would slump, but year to
yeah.
year, he was a very consistent
Your
player.
game,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
which I
Your
think is
game.
kind of how you know. Yeah. So yeah. All right, guys. I think that's probably gonna do it for tonight. I think the plan is to come back on Thursday. We'll do a stream then, but thank you guys for hopping on. Fun to be back on after a little I think
I don't know what happened. But thank you guys for coming on. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas. Probably see you on Thursday, but if we don't see you on Thursday, I hope everybody has a happy new year. Blessings to you all, and have a great night.